All right, team. Hello, hello, hello. I am just sending this for those of you who missed the leader meeting back 2 Saturdays ago now, back on the 9th of November. If you missed that, welcome to your update video. If you were there for that meeting, don't waste your time watching this because we'll just be going over the same stuff that we went over in the meeting. Hopefully a little more expedited, and we won't cover everything we did, but some of the things that really need to get covered. One thing is we have policy. I'm going to include that link in the description, and if you want to click on that, that'll set you up to look over our policy again. Hopefully you've already looked over it, but there's just a few things to note on there. The whole goal for our policies is it's not to pin you in a box and say you can't ever do any of these things. If you do, you'll be in trouble. The whole goal of this is to create something that protects you as leaders and says, hey, here are some general guidelines that we want to agree to as a team. You don't need to sign anything on there, but it is important for you to be aware of what our policy is, because these are basically guidelines to say, hey, don't avoid these situations. Avoid these situations to keep yourself above reproach and keep yourself from situations that could get you in trouble, God forbid. And so if we're following these, generally we're not going to run into issues. We haven't run into issues at First Free ever with these. With a lot of these things. One of the things that I want to note is in the one-on-one section, avoid one-on-one situations with students. If you are with one-on-one with a student because you need to talk about an issue that's come up in small group or whatever, just come into a public space, especially if it's on a Wednesday night or a Sunday morning when we have service. Just go out into the lobby or something, and sit down on the floor where there's people around and can see you, but you guys can kind of have a private conversation by the sitting on the floor, leaning against the wall or something like that. So try your best to avoid one-on-one situations, but obviously those things will happen. Do not have any one-on-one conversations behind closed doors. If you're the only leader, if you're a small group leader and you're the only adult in the group, so adult means 18 or older. So if you have a high school leader who is 18 or older, they are an adult. And so for those of you who are 18 or older and you're watching this, you're an adult. This applies to you. There's only one adult leader in a room with a small group. That's okay. Just leave the door open. Okay, so make sure the door is open in those classrooms. Even if there's a window, we want a door open. Again, it's to protect you, because in one-on-one situations, if it's a he said, she said, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on which way you look at it, in the court of law, the minor will always their testimony will always be taken over an adult. So just do that to protect yourself. Don't drive one-on-one with a student. Especially the opposite sex, but even of the same sex, don't drive alone. If you find yourself alone with a student in a car and you're driving them because it's just unavoidable, their parents didn't show up and you're the last one to leave or something, and you have to drive them home, avoid it at all costs. But if you are alone, please, the best thing to do is call up someone, whether it's myself or another staff member or your co-leader or someone else. Call them, put them on speaker. All you have to do is keep it very natural. You can say, hey, Steve, I'm in the car with so-and-so. I'm driving her home. Just wanted to say, hey, see how things are going. It's going to be a little weird. The student might be like, why are we putting this guy on speaker? What's going on? But we'll do our best to just make it as natural as possible without making it feel uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, even if it's uncomfortable, I'd rather you be uncomfortable than putting yourself at risk of anything happening, any accusations being made. Again, I know that this sounds like we're doom and gloom when we talk about this stuff, but we're just trying to avoid any possible problems in the future. So just make sure that you're being careful with that. Texting, uh, we try not to text students one-on-one, especially after, especially in the evening, late at night. Don't text students late at night. If you need to text them during the day or maybe early in the evening, that's okay. We get that texting is just it's the way of life for many of our teenagers, and so if you are texting one-on-one, know this, that we're going to hold you accountable as staff, and if there's ever any suspicion for any of our staff, can take any leader's phones at any time and look through, just we basically just know that you're signing off on that. If you're texting with students, you're signing off on saying, hey, I'm giving permission for staff to take my phone at any time, and look through. And we have that same policy as a staff, right? To keep one another accountable and to make sure that, even if we are texting students, there's kind of 100% accountability to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Avoid any sort of direct messaging on social media, anything. Facebook Messenger, Instagram, direct message. Please do not snap. Don't use Snapchat with students. That's absolutely no. Don't snap back and forth. Because that is just a dangerous. Don't do that. No direct messaging. The reason is things through social media can be stored on other servers and can be manipulated. And there could be no record of the original text or whatever, and so we want to protect you with that. Whereas text over data and just texting on your phone, that will be all the companies have. Phone companies actually have records of what was sent and what was received. So that's really important that we make that distinction. Moving on, some of y'all filled out the survey. For those of you who have not filled out that survey that I sent, it's not too late. You can still send it out. I believe we gave our gift card to Emily Callis for filling hers out. Congratulations, Emily. If you can fill that out, that would just be a huge help to me. I know some people have said, hey, I thought we just did a survey. Yes, we're going to do surveys plenty of times. I want to keep getting regular feedback from you guys. And if there's ever a question that you're like, I don't have an answer to, that's okay. Just put, I don't have an answer to this, but finish the rest of the survey, because it's a huge help for me to keep hearing from you guys. We're going to do one after every retreat and camp, and then we're just going to do it periodically throughout the year so I can keep getting feedback from where you guys are at and what you're feeling, because it's important to me to know what's going on. And you guys have some great ideas. We did some brainstorming, but we'll get to that. This is brainstorming at the meeting, and it was great. One thing in the survey, one big takeaway that I had, I asked the question, what is your God-sized dream for this ministry? And every single person except maybe one person put down that their dream is to have more students in our ministry and to see our ministry grow. Some people said we want to see more students at camp, or we want to just have more students, have new students coming in. And so that was just a very overarching theme that many of us, I think, share that desire to see more students being impacted by our ministry. We talked about this in our meeting, how it's not about numbers. We're not doing this for just the numbers, as if like numbers mean everything, but numbers do mean something, and numbers are really important, because numbers, every number has a name, and every name has a story, and every story matters to God, right? Like every number is a person. And so when we count numbers, it's not because, we just want to get the biggest ministry because we want to show off all our numbers and feel good about ourselves. No, the reason we track numbers, the reason we pay attention to the numbers, the reason we celebrate numbers is because we want our ministry to be impacting as many people as we possibly can. And so whatever God ordains for us to reach, whatever number that is, we're going to strive forward and try our best to grow our ministry. And so my goal and my hope, and hopefully this can be our team's hope and goal, and I want this to be our kind of God-sized dream, is to see 100 students at camp this year, at junior high camp. And so that's something that we can be praying for. We prayed for it at the meeting, and we're continuing to pray for it as we move forward to see 100 students at junior high camp. If that's the case, that means that there will be several students who have never been to a church that could hear the gospel, spend an entire week with the community of Jesus, and learn more about God. And I think that would be awesome. And so we're just going to keep striving to see our ministry grow. With that, the changes are necessary. With that, we always want to keep reevaluating, keep changing, keep looking for ways to evolve our ministry. And so one big thing is we always, every single leader at every single student ministry event, whether it's during small group or during Wednesday nights or during Sunday mornings or at a get out, wherever we are, we always need to have the perspective of a new student who is there for the first time. And that needs to we need to get into the habit of letting that affect every single aspect of our leadership when we're with students. So that means if you're on the stage and making an announcement or leading a game or teaching something, you're introducing yourself. Because you have to imagine a student for the first time comes in, and they're not going to know people. They don't know names. They don't know internal language. So if you say, hey, everyone, let's head to room 110, that new student's not going to know what the heck's going on. And even if, they'll figure it out because they'll see the crowd. But even then, it's showing them, it's reminding them that they don't belong, that they are new, that they are lost. And so we want to remove any sort of obstacle that's going to get in the way of a student experiencing Jesus. And so we're going to do our best to introduce ourselves, avoid any sort of internal language, and really trying our best to be welcoming to students, just welcome new students. There are times where I know we don't have a single new student in our group, and yet I still have students cheer for a new student, because I want us to get into the habit of having new students, because not only is it important for the new student, but it's important for us to model it for our current students, how our heart for this ministry is we want to be welcoming and hospitable to any student that walks through the doors. And so if we're modeling that, our students are going to start emulating that as well. Let's see, let's skip through there. We want to make sure, guys, that wherever we are, we're having that perspective of a new student. If you're in a small group, if you're leading a small group, make sure you don't single a new student out. Maybe just say, hey guys, let's make sure we go around the room and everyone introduces themselves, as a way to allow that new student to learn names in the group without pointing out, hey, Jessica is brand new, everyone clap for her, yay. Like, that could be not traumatizing, but it could be awful for that girl, because she doesn't want to be singled out and to be known that she's new, even if everyone else knows it. And so let's remove any possible obstacle that could be getting in the way of a new student experiencing Jesus, because one experience with Jesus can change a student's life forever, and that needs to be our belief through and through, is that all it takes is one experience with Jesus. So let's provide as many opportunities as we can for that student to experience Jesus, and let's try to remove every obstacle we can for that student to experience Jesus. Let's make sure our first impressions for a student are positive for a new student. Statistics show that when a person is at a new place, their first impression formed in their first 7 seconds of experiencing that. So first 7 seconds of a student coming in, they've now decided how they feel about our ministry. So our Wednesday nights and our Sunday mornings historically have been somewhat similar. They've had a lot of the similar format. We're changing that. We're going to make them try to make them unique experiences, because we want to hit different target audiences. And I think this has been the purpose for our ministry for a long time, is we want the Wednesday nights to be more friendly towards new students. And it's not shallow, but it is in some ways the shallower end of the pool. Whereas Sunday mornings, we want that to be a deeper time for students to grow in their faith. So Wednesday nights, we're trying to build up excitement. We're trying to create a lot of energy. We're trying to make it fun and show that, hey, community the community of God is a fun place to be a part of and a fun place to belong. And so we want this to be a place that students want to be, and we want it to be a place where students want to invite their friends because it is so that awesome. And so we want to remove any excuse for students to invite their friends. We want to say, man, this is the coolest place and their favorite part of the week. And so we want to encourage them to invite their friends. So we're going to actually keep encouraging and keep making new events throughout the year. We did Fall Fest a couple weeks ago, and we had the highest attendance we've had all fall, and we had 3 new students invited, and students just had a blast. If you missed it, it was so fun. Students were just engaging and just having a great time together. So it's really important that we, to me, that we do. So it's really important that we just create regular touch. So it's really important that we create these events regularly throughout the year that just give our students more opportunity to invite their friends to. And just like Fall Fest, they're not going to be different timing, different schedule or anything than our normal Wednesday nights. We'll still do a service. We'll still usually break out into small groups, and then just that structured, unstructured time at the end of the night will be that whatever that party is. And so we don't want our ministry to be a bait and switch, right? We don't want it to be, hey, here's our one event in the year, and then now you're stuck with us, stay the rest of the year. We want it to be a regular thing that we are having parties, we are just having a ton of fun, make it a regular part of our ministry so students want to keep coming and be a part. And even if that's not the most, even if that's not the greatest motivation for our students, we still want to get them in and give them opportunities to experience Jesus, right? Because one experience with Jesus changes a life forever. And so Wednesday nights, we want it to be all about encouraging students to invite their friends. And the end of Wednesday nights is we want to cultivate relationships. And we're still going to try our best to make the messages, make small group time meaningful and deep. It doesn't mean we're gonna skimp out on the messages and make them super shallow and just repetitive and everything. No, we still want to make them challenging and applicable to our students, but we're going to do everything we can, again, to remove those obstacles. Sunday mornings is going to be a little more in depth. We're doing our pods right now. We're trying that out. I think it's certainly a step in the right direction. I don't know if it's going to be a forever change in that direction, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and we're just going to keep trying those pods and see how it continues to progress. And hopefully it's an opportunity for our students to just grow deeper in their faith, on top of the opportunity that these pods have given our students to now serve during first service. We have about 8 to 10 students now serving in first service, and I would say over half of them were not involved in serving before this. And so there's quite a few, 5 or 6 students who are serving for the first time, and it's because of these pods. We have a few in tech, a couple in hospitality, or a guest connection, and then several in kid connection. And it's really cool to just see students serving in our local church, and I think that is a huge win. Last thing to touch on. So with trying to move forward and try to make our ministry more exciting for students and trying to remove roadblocks from students, there's 2 changes that we talked about a couple weeks ago. The first is our Christmas party coming up. We are actually going to be having an ugly sweater Christmas party, and we are not going to be doing the skits this year. The reason being, not that the skits aren't fun, not that they aren't an awesome time for those involved, but they unfortunately, they implicitly communicate a very exclusive ministry. What I mean by that is, if a new student's coming in, and say it's a 7th grade girl, and all the 7th grade girls in her group have all these costumes, they've got their skit planned out, and she comes, it's telling her that, oh, you're not actually a part of this, you're new, you're the one person that doesn't belong here. I'm not saying that that's what we're trying to communicate. I know that's not the heart behind it, but that's how a student is going to perceive it. And so we want to avoid that. And like I said in our meeting on Saturday, I'm very open to trying to incorporate skits into some other element in our ministry, maybe at camp or on a retreat or something. But I think a much easier ask for a student is to say, hey, come to the ugly sweater Christmas party. And a new student comes and they know they wear an ugly sweater. And even if they had no idea and they show up without an ugly sweater, there's going to be plenty of students who didn't bother with that either. And so it's an easy ask, and it's a fun sounding night for students. We'll have plenty of activities. We can get more into that later, but I'll try to save more time. Other thing is spring retreats. So spring retreat, we were originally last year supposed to go to Pinecrest, and then for those of you who are unaware, the spring retreat was actually then last minute because of snow and just traveling complications. They decided to have it at the church, and so they just did one night overnight in host home. So each group stayed in a different host home from someone in our church community. And Friday night stayed there, and then Saturday all day, spent the rest of the day at the church, and then we ended Saturday night. So it was just a 2-day retreat, and it was, from what I've heard and from all my conversations with leaders, it was a huge success. It wasn't even planned. It was an impromptu thing, and yet it ended up being a really big success. And so I thought that's a great idea for a couple reasons. One, budgeting wise, we can lower the price of the retreat because of that. And two, since we're not paying for transportation and all of that, two, it really encourages students to invite friends, and it's a much easier ask. Generation Z is the least likely generation their age to get involved in alcohol or drugs or any sort of delinquent behavior because they're the least likely to get out of the house. And so asking a student to go away for camp for a weekend might not actually be the most appealing thing for them. And that is actually a very hard ask for a lot of Generation Z. And I'm not saying that students don't have fun at camp or have a great time, but I think it's a much easier ask to say, hey, come to this church for one night in the community. It's not far from home, and we have all these cool things going on with, I know last year there was knocker ball, there was archery tag, and just a bunch of other things. So I think it's going to be an easier ask, and it could be a really great opportunity for outreach and for students to invite their friends. So we're going to try that again this year. If it bombs, it bombs, and we'll just go back to the way we used to do it. But I'd love to give it a try again and see how it works when we actually have it planned ahead of time too, and see if that is a big success like it was last spring. So those are the two big transitions that we're making, and other than that, I don't have too much left. We gave out a book for all of our small group leaders. So for those of you who are small group leaders, we gave out a book called Lead Small that is 5 big ideas for leading a small group, and I think it is the greatest small group leader handbook ever made, and it's a really easy read, and we have a copy for you, so make sure you get one from me at some point. Let me know, and I will get that to you. Super important in future meetings. We have our small group coaches. We have Nick Walker, and then we have another one who is in the works for our female small group leaders who are going to be encouraging you guys and equipping you and training you, and they're going to be using Lead Small as we move forward. So that's my gift to you. Please make sure you get it. I'm telling you, it will change the way you lead your small groups. Each principal, if you've led small groups for a couple years, you'll read each principal and go, oh yeah, I've done that before. Oh yeah, I've done that before. But it'll give you a whole new perspective on being intentional about those 5 things and making sure that you make those 5 things a priority and make those 5 things regular parts of leading your small group. That is all I've got. I know I talked for a while, but I wanted to get it done as quick as I could and get through it, and there's plenty more I wanted to share with you. But hopefully that gives you a snapshot on what's going on in the next few months. There is a schedule. I'll send that out to you on upcoming events. I'll send you the agenda from our meeting that has the upcoming events. We have a leader Christmas party coming up soon. The Walkers are hosting, and it'll be a great time. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for watching through this. Make sure you click on the link below for the policy so you can read through that and make sure you're aware of what our policy as a team is. And also, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel so that way you get notifications every single time that I put up a video so you can stay up to date. You guys rock. I'm so thankful for all of you. This ministry could not happen without you, and I am just blown away by all the things that God is doing in and through you already. And man, I cannot wait for 2020 to see all the things that God does through you and through our students. I know that God is just stirring right now in our church, and I am just so eager to see how he moves in this next year. Love you guys. Let me know if you have any questions.